Hello, Froggy here, and today we'll be taking a look at Defiant Battleground EDZ. I don't generally do much in the Battlegrounds because they tend to be a bit painful to explore, but thanks to some messing around we did, we found a way to make it not painful. We'll actually be going to the very end of this battleground without needing to kill a single ad or teleport a single time, which is basically like being in patrol. In fact, if we kind of go up on this right side here, it just doesn't give us an objective, so it kind of does look like we're in patrol, which is kind of weird. Not quite sure why that happens, but anyways, we'll be using a tried and true method of getting out of the map here. This little tree by Zer, or where Zer would be. Just dip over the top, and then back onto a ledge here. There's a lot of invisible rocks and whatnot, so it can be a little bit tricky. I like to stop by this water on the left. You'll have to dip a little bit on the right to keep going because of more invisible terrain, but it's useful to have a spawn point there. And now we just need to go to the funnel. You can go around a couple of different ways here, though there are death barriers, so you have to be a little bit careful. Luckily, we had our spawn point set on that water. Strange, but very convenient. Speaking of convenient, we've got a handy marker for where we're dropping into the funnel, right here with this kind of metal barricade. It is a rather long drop, so let's speed that up. Not often did I have to speed up a fall. Once we get into the ascendant bubble, there's a rather nice view. And because of the sequence breaking, we don't really get the taken effects either. You get a similar sort of thing if you go into Shattered Throne from Patrol or from Last Wish. But this funnel has a bit of a catch. At the bottom of it, there is a kill barrier. For a bit, we were afraid that that was going to be the end of the line. But luckily, it is possible to avoid it. Just going to set my max ammo low for ammo regen so I can take advantage of that. So going right across that last beam on the left, and let's do that drop again. Thanks to Cohaereo, whose work helped us find this funnel, Elite found that at the bottom of it, he could thunder crash through a small gap in between the kill barrier and the top of the funnel to get into the map proper. By the way, you can kill your momentum by swapping to an eager edge sword, or by using a heavy swing. After Elite made it through, I figured you could probably do something similar with a sword. You want to stop your fall before you hit the Shadow Legion territory masked zone, and then just kind of slowly go down and try to swing forwards. Once you can, go forwards a bit and then drop so you don't die to the turnback, and we're in. This next part is not really anything special, except that you don't have taken effects and there are no ads, so let's just speed through it. It's amazing how much this place feels like being somewhere you're not supposed to be in patrol, with the lack of effects and ads and whatnot. But it isn't patrol, so make sure you've got a full fire team, or maybe low light or a solo script or something, so that you don't interfere with people trying to get their regular battleground runs done. If you do it before next season, there's even a launch node. Hopefully at some point they'll add launch nodes for the other battlegrounds. Somewhere around here there's a load zone, that's why I have my ghost out, but it kind of acts weird when you're transitioning into an area that's named the same as your masked zone. We definitely already hit it, but it didn't force my ghost away like it normally would. And we've got the mid-battleground boss, which doesn't really do anything here. The ads will shoot at you, but it's not really that damaging given that we launched this from the Battleground node and not any of the proper playlists. Now where is that? Ah, there we go. Elite is heading towards the hole up there. We'll be going through a tunnel. But to get to the tunnel, we first need to get out of the map. Tunnels and funnels are pretty much the same thing. I just like to call them tunnels when they're horizontal and they've got death barriers at the bottom. If you're clever about this sword flying here, you don't need to grapple fly or anything at all. In fact, you could stasis climb or something to get back up. But I think I'm just going to be a bit lazy here and do a bit of very bad grapple flying. That's going to cost me a little bit of time. But luckily it won't cost you any time at all because of the power of editing. This tunnel branches off from about the corner of the pyramid structure. So we need to climb up top here before we can make the long flight to the boss arena. It would be a good idea to make sure your ammo is full before heading out here, as seems to be nearly mandatory these days. I will be going over the details of sword ammo genning as soon as we get to a little checkpoint platform over here. So to regenerate my sword ammo, I set my max ammo to as low as it can go, die, and then set my max ammo as high as it'll go. And you regenerate a fraction of that ammo. I like to try to do this anytime I dip below 30, if at all possible. We're pretty low in the tunnel right now, so it's best to get a little bit of height before we go any further. You can see we're bumping up against the top of it here. Conveniently, Elite left grapple points behind. The platforms we're flying over right now are below the tunnel, so you will die if you try to hit them. Eventually, the tunnel kind of veers to the right, so you'll want to look out for that when flying and turn after you hit it. If you activate catapult lift while you're within the effect of the push barrier, it won't actually boost you up and it'll just eat your jump, and then you'll probably fall and die, so be careful. While this labyrinth is very simple, the walls are invisible. I didn't like my height there, so I was using grapple to get a little bit more. You definitely want to come in at the upward sloped part of this, because if you hit the downward slope part, it will push you down, and you will die, and you will have to do that entire flight again. This may have happened several times to me. Anyways, we need to get around this wall, which can be a little bit tricky because the box does not want to cooperate. But luckily, various melee abilities and eager edge don't particularly care about the box, at least very momentarily. Down to 13 sword ammo, so let's fix that. Anyways, you can explore outside here, but we're going to be heading into the boss arena. Thanks to Nahsense, who helped show us the way here. It is a bit tricky and covered in turnbacks and whatnot. But if you go to this kind of door in the middle, you can avoid most of the nonsense. Let's get on top of that. And that'll give us a nice little spot that we can rest. There we go. From here we'll be dipping underneath and then going back up into the map. You can use a grapple to make it easier, but it's definitely not necessary. And we're in. I was quite pleased that we were able to make it all the way in here, because normally Battlegrounds are such a pain to deal with their kind of shifting regions of turnbacks and joining allies. The first time we hit the funnel, I got about, I don't know, a quarter of the way down it before joining allies brought me right back. But luckily that sequence break fixed everything. Anyways, do take the time to check this place out if you can. It was surprisingly delightful. Just be sure to bring some buddies along to prevent the matchmaking. Anyways, while we're here, might as well mess around a bit more, see if we can run into any other holes that is unfortunately blocked off. But might as well just head all the way back here. I remember when we first ran into the sort of pyramid architecture back in Shadowkeep. Right when it started getting interesting and then the campaign abruptly ended. But I am glad that we've got more of that sort of stuff to explore now. Always full of surprises, like random shadow gall and Val's horses. Well, looks like this is the end of the line. Before I head out, immediately after I stopped recording, we stumbled into this hole in the map. I'm pretty sure in the mission this would be blocked by a ad spawn door or something, but it's open for us now. We've also got some intangible walls over here, but sadly they don't quite lead to the outside, so can't just use that to dip in early. But still kind of neat.